Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to show you guys. This is the Off Grid Knives Stinger EDC. This is the little brother to the Stinger XL. Both are available. I'll link them right down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Off Grid Knives for sending this in for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. It's important to point out that these are not manufactured in China. They're manufactured in Taiwan. So I know some people will be excited to hear that. These also have noticeably higher quality than a lot of budget knives that come in under $75 that are made in China. I've always really enjoyed whoever is the OEM for these, the Taiwanese OEM for these off-grid knives. Whoever they are, they do a really good job. I've been reviewing the off-grid knives for a very long time on this channel, and some of the knives from the past were actually manufactured in China, but whoever this OEM is that they use in Taiwan, man, they're great. I have really enjoyed these things. I have a lot of good things to say about this knife, so let's go ahead and get started here. How about a measurement to start off? That would probably be a good idea. This is quite a bit smaller than the XL brother. I want to say the XL is like 9 1/4 at least, might even be 9 1/2. The overall length of the EDC size Stinger is coming in at 7 inches, blade length 3 inches, cutting edge about 2.9 inches. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you see in this section can be found in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the Demco AD10 and the Demco AD20.5, the Stinger is much closer to the overall size of the AD20.5, and I should point out that the total amount of cutting edge is identical between the Stinger and the AD20.5. How about up against the Spyderco? There it is. It's up here today. Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Once again, much closer to the smaller knife in this group, the Para 3. It actually has more cutting edge than the Para 3. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. All right. How's the action on this knife? This is one of those things that makes it stand out. The action is very, very smooth. Sorry, we're going to hear the garage door here that's above me and to the right. Please excuse that. But the flipping action on this knife is very, very good. The detent strength is perfect considering the weight and mass of the blade and the shape of the flipper tab. This is a flipper tab that you can absolutely push button if you want to. It's a little bit pokey, not bad. Light switching it is also perfect. Kind of getting it in between is about the way you're going to want to do it. And this is, it's not like you need instructions on how to flip this knife. It's going to come as second nature to you. But the pivot action is very smooth, and the break of the detent is very satisfying. This is going to be a satisfying knife to flip every single time you get it out of your pocket, and it's just done perfectly for what it is. The liner lock access is also very good. You can see the front scale is carved below where you would access the liner lock, which means you can move it directly this way instead of having to push your finger in and squish it over. A good example of an annoying way that this is done is on the Spyderco Gale Bradley 2, which is such a shame because that knife is just amazing. But my God, disengaging that liner lock is... yeah, it's like flossing with barbed wire, and I'm not talking about your mouth. It's really an unpleasant experience. I do not like it, but this is very, very good. Let's go ahead and, I'm sorry, the visual of what I said is also in my mind, so I'm trying to transition away from that. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco PM2. It's actually a fairly thick knife, and that's because we have reasonably thick G10 scales that are contoured on top of steel liners. So it's actually, these titanium scales are actually the same exact thickness of the PM2 normally, but we should be putting it up against the Para 3 because that's what I usually do, but you can see here it definitely is a little thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy's coming in a little bit shorter than the Para 3. Nowhere near as long as the PM2, and nowhere near as tall, even including the flipper tab. So honestly, the only dimension you might notice versus knives like this is going to be the thickness, but it's not that bad. Materials. We have G10, we have steel for the liners, and we have 154 cm for the blade, which is just excellent. These also come in coyote and gray. I believe it's like a PVD. I think it's a PVD coating. Could be wrong about that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. Do we have milling for weight reduction? Just a bit, just a touch. So the weight on this guy is coming in, probably would be helpful if you could see the weight. Here we go. 3.77 ounces for roughly 3 inches of blade. Not bad, not perfect ratios. Balance on this knife is a bit back of the pivot, so about right here. You might notice it, but honestly at 3.7 ounces, it's unlikely you will notice it. You're more likely to notice the general thickness of the knife, which again, really isn't all that bad. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I'm going to try a T10 because I figure, nope, okay, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Let's get a T8 here. There we go. So I thought maybe. So we're looking at a T8 pivot and also T8 body screws, which is wonderful, 2 on each side. T6 for the pocket clip filler tab and pocket clip itself. Not a big deal. A lot of people, you know, when I took a look at some other off-grid knife, were for some reason just absolutely devastated. They were acting as if they were a villager from Pompeii, having their home destroyed. That was the emotional response to seeing 3 screws on the filler tab instead of 2. Relax. You're gonna live. Unlike the villagers of Pompeii, you will survive this. The pocket clip is such a good design. I can't tell you how little I care. Now, if you really care about this, right? If you want to dedicate an enormous amount of emotional energy to this and just like, you know, throw your whole day off, then you go right ahead and do that. But I'm going to tell you about my emotional reaction to seeing 3 screws on the filler tab and pocket clip versus 2. I don't care. And I'll tell you why. It's because the pocket clip is such a fantastic design. And let's remember, the number of times you will take the clip off and put it back on is probably 1 or 2 times in the entirety of the knife life. Of the life of this knife. Maybe you will have to unscrew the screw 1 or 2 extra times, right? It's not like a body screw. And the pocket clip does not have to come off for maintenance. So once you switch it to the way you want it, you're probably good to go, right? Now, whenever I do this, whenever I stir the macaroni pot, you know, the spaghetti wizards come out. They are ready to fight. All right. Well, knuckle up and leave me a comment that I won't read. I'm kidding. Gosh, geez, get so riled up. I'm just kidding. I think the pocket clip is really, really good. So it is a little bit odd that there are 3 screws there, but okay. Not that big of a deal. We'll return to the pocket clip here after a bit. What was I talking about? Man, I got so off track. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. Blade stock thickness coming in at 135 thousandths. So right there, middle of the road. Okay, we've done everything. Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes here. This is about as small a knife as I will carry. I mean, there's a couple of exceptions, but generally speaking, I like to get a full grip on the knife, even if I don't plan to do an enormous amount of like heavy cutting. With this knife, though, it does feel robust enough, right? It's not like thicker materials equate to, you know, more durability, but this knife does give me that sense of security that comes with general robustness. So there is a chance that I would actually take this out, especially considering the blade is fully flat ground and has a nice thin cutting edge. I actually might hold this knife like this in the hammer grip and do some heavier cutting with it. But the reason that I say that is also because it's comfortable. And that brings me back to the pocket clip. This is exactly why I always talk about clips that come all the way down here. That makes no sense to me. The designers who make knives who have pocket clips that come clear down here or even halfway, it's like, why? Why? Well, it's because it stays in your, it'll hold onto your pocket better. No, it won't. That's nonsense. That's clip retention, right? The pinch zone is the same either way, right? I mean, if you're talking about how much distance the pinch zone has to travel in order for the pocket clip to release the knife from your pocket? What? Listen, unless your job is parkour or space station trapeze artist or fired from a cannon human body, I don't think that that's a good argument. I think pocket clips in general would do better to be shorter, and as long as you have the right level of retention and the right shape, you're good to go. I can tell you confidently that even light jogging will not release this pocket knife from my pants, right? Now, if you are an awkward dad and you wear your knife outside of the pocket, I know that there's still a few people left on this earth who do that, and I got to tell you, let's say you just discovered my channel and you're like, this guy's a weird knife reviewer. Like, he gets off topic all the time. I don't know about this guy. Welcome to the channel. But let's say you're new and you've been going your whole life in your pocket knife, right? You're on your 27th pocket knife. You're like, gosh darn it, the reason I don't buy a lot of expensive knives is because, gosh darn it, I just keep losing them. I just keep losing those gosh darn things, and I'm financially conscious. Said person is carrying the knife on the outside of their pants. I can tell you the reason you're losing it is because you are doing it wrong. Don't put the knife outside of your pocket and the pocket clip on the inside. Number one, it's wrong. Number two, it's goofy. That is the goofiest, goofball, weirdo thing to do. I don't understand. My dad did that until I said, Dad, stop! Dad, stop it! I yelled at him from across the room. I said, stop that, Dad. I yelled at him from across Home Depot. Don't do that. That's not how you wear a pocket knife. In the pocket clip, right? The idea behind a deep carry clip is that it hides the whole knife is sunk into your pants pocket. All you're seeing is the pocket, right? It's safe in there, it's secure. So anyways, the clip doesn't need to be super duper deep. That's unrealistic, and it creates an ergonomic problem. This does not create an ergonomic problem, number one, because it starts up here and it constantly tapers down and comes down to a slight swoop and bill, which is rounded, easy in and out of the pocket, good retention, and deep enough while not creating a palm dig zone. Moving on. The Shamford, how does he pick the reviews where he starts ranting? I don't know. It just, when you feel it, when the spirit is compelled, you just go for it. Chamfered edges are nice. Contouring is nice. A little bit of detailed here. It kind of, adds a little zest, a little bit of cayenne pepper to an otherwise bland soup. Honestly, it looks good. It looks like off-grid. I'm not a big fan of the black wash. If you like it, that's fine. I like the coyote and the gunmetal one. So yeah. But the grind on this is very, very good, and the final cutting edge is very good. It comes down to a pretty darn thin edge. Slicing, cutting, all of that is going to do just fine because this is, pretty much the most traditional blade shape you could ask for. It's a very utilitarian blade shape. I kind of like that there's a little bit of extra thickness here, adding a little bit of durability to the blade. 154 cm is an incredibly well-rounded composition. This is the ingot form of this composition, but even the ingot form has a very fine grain structure. So you're going to have even distribution of all the elements of the composition there. And 154 cm has okay edge retention, very easy to touch up, which is that's something that you want with a knife like this. Pretty good toughness and definitely very good corrosion resistance. It's essentially one of the most ideal compositions you can get on a pocket knife in this territory, where it's definitely going to be a user, right? So I've always enjoyed 154 cm, and I can see myself continuing to enjoy it. As is the case with all things, eventually it will be replaced by a superior balanced composition at this price point. But for now, 154 cm remains to be a very good option. I do like that the jimping extends out about halfway, right? You can get this to complement the position of your index finger kind of however you want to. Also like there's a little bit of curvature in that drop point, so you can get your finger up right behind the edge. It's not the most ideal blade shape for doing draw cuts, but you can do a little bit of precision or shaping cuts, right? Whatever you want to do. It's interesting to me that we have done lipped liners. I think this design probably would benefit from nested liners so that we could reduce the total thickness of the scales by at least those liners. I think honestly that would be the most ideal shape for this. It doesn't feel uncomfortably thick. It's just a little bit like, why is it so thick, right? It's not horrible, but you'll notice it versus a lot of other pocket knives. Seating of the hardware, fit and finish, all of that's great. Couple of standoffs here, nothing super duper fancy. It's great that we have options for both right and left-handed people, as you can see here. As a right-hand dominant person, manipulating this knife with my left hand is extremely, extremely easy. So left-handed people, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Oh no, there's no lanyard hole. Who cares? The stop pin is located in its traditional position right here. Lots of shouldering both in the open and closed position. Actually, not anymore. So in fact, there's really, I'm not going to call this shouldering. I think that's flat. That's fine. It doesn't need it. Runs on bearings, no blade play, up, down, left, or right, no lock stick, no double clutch, no pivot lash. Very, very smooth and consistent in here. Off Grid Knives is very good about that, or their Taiwanese OEM. Very nice detent, very clicky, and you can see there we have beautiful, beautiful centering. I think maybe slightly, is it slightly off, or is that my... Nah, I think I'm crazy. It's a good knife. 97 bucks, that doesn't surprise me. Now, a lot of people would be quick to point out, Kershaw makes American knives, and some of their American knives are slightly less. Yeah. So the difference between like Kershaw and Hinderer, for example, is that Hinderer is doing everything in-house. I don't know what percentage, but I think it's safe to assume that with some companies, there's a decent bit of outsourcing. That being said, Kershaw still does an excellent job with what they do create, what percentage they do create in the United States. So we can't we can't pretend that that's entirely like everything is done here, right? Taiwan manufacturing is also not cheap, right? So my point is that is this the most competitive pricing I've ever seen? No. Is it good? Yeah, it's okay. It's not. It doesn't blow my socks off. I'll tell you what though. The design is good. It's very utilitarian. It feels very off-grid. And man, the quality shines on these. I'm telling you, everybody that I've ever heard from who has picked up an off-grid knife after watching a review from me has said nice things about it, right? Now, as soon as you say that, you're going to get a contrarian that's like, I bought one and it was dog crap. Well, okay. But they're not, though. They're very, very good. I like the materials used. I like the overall quality, the execution of it. Everything feels good. So I'm much less bothered by a $97 price tag. What it feels like is about an $85 knife, right? So we're about 12 bucks high. How did I come to that conclusion? I don't know. It's just my internal, you know, the little weird little whatever's in my noodle that is... whatever's up there doing calculations, right? That's the number that it spit out. It didn't give me an explanation. It just, that's what it did compared to everything else that I handle, right? Which is a lot. If you run a channel with 4,000 uploads, you've handled a lot of knives, right? A knife channel, that is. So I've had a lot to compare to. So yeah, there are other $85 knives, roughly. Like a lot of like Kaiser's Vanguard stuff feels a little bit similar. But this isn't, it's certainly not bad. And Kaiser's Vanguard stuff is made in China, right? So this is very, very good. And if you like this, I think you're going to be happy with it. Legitimately, this is a recommendable knife. It's a shame it's not under $75 because this would be one hell of a budget knife. But at $97, it's not bad at all. Another great offering from Off Grid Knives. While you're there, take some time to look around because Off Grid Knives has some really great stuff. And like I said, if this is a little small for you, holy moly, check out the Stinger XL because that thing is an absolute beast. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.